My name is Sofia Martinez. I'm 32 years old, and I built a career in corporate marketing by learning to recognize value that others overlook. But 6 years ago, before I understood that lesson fully, I was the daughter whose father disowned her at her own wedding for marrying a man he called poor. My father stood up during the reception dinner in front of 200 guests and said the words that would end our relationship for 3 years. You're marrying beneath our family, Sophia. Don't expect a penny from me. You've made your choice. Live with it. I walked down that aisle anyway and married Marcus Chen, a high school chemistry teacher who made $52,000 a year. My father, Richard Martinez, owned Martinez Pharmaceuticals, a company worth $40 million. He thought I was throwing my life away. 3 years later, his company was failing. The EFTA had rejected their flagship drug. Their stock had dropped 47%. And my father, the man who called my husband poor and worthless, called Marcus begging for help. Because it turned out my poor husband had a PhD in biochemistry from MIT, had published 14 papers in pharmaceutical journals, and had turned down a $190,000 job at Pfizer to teach high school kids who couldn't afford college prep courses. My father needed the man he'd insulted to save everything he'd built. And Marcus looked at me and said, "What do you want me to do?" Before I tell you what I decided and what happened when my father realized the teacher he'd mocked was the only person who could save him, tell me, what time is it for you right now? Where are you watching from? And what's the weather like where you are? Does it match your mood tonight? I'm curious to see how far this story will travel. The first time I brought Marcus home to meet my family was the beginning of a war I didn't know I was walking into. I was 26, working as a marketing manager at a tech company, and I'd been dating Marcus for 6 months. He was 29, teaching chemistry at an underfunded public high school in East Oakland, and he was the kindest, smartest, most genuine person I'd ever met. We'd met at a coffee shop near my office. He was grading papers at a corner table, muttering to himself about how his students didn't understand electron configurations. I was working on a presentation. Our laptops died at the same time. We both reached for the only available outlet. We laughed. We talked. He told me about his students, kids from immigrant families and single-parent homes who needed someone to believe in them. I told him about corporate marketing campaigns and product launches. We were from completely different worlds, but something clicked. 6 months later, I was in love. I wanted my family to meet him. My father, Richard, was a self-made success story. He'd started Martinez Pharmaceuticals 30 years ago in a garage, working as a chemist himself before transitioning to business. He'd built the company into a $40 million operation that employed 200 people and produced 3 FDA-approved medications. He was proud, traditional, and obsessed with status and legacy. My mother, Alina, was quieter but equally invested in appearances. My older brother Daniel worked at the company as VP of Operations and had married the daughter of another pharmaceutical CEO. I was the younger child, the one who'd gone into marketing instead of science, the one my father tolerated but never quite understood. I invited my parents and brother to dinner at a nice restaurant. Marcus wore his best suit, a slightly worn navy one he'd bought for his PhD defense years ago. My father wore a custom-tailored Italian suit that cost more than Marcus's monthly salary. The dinner started politely. My father asked Marcus what he did. "I teach chemistry at Roosevelt High School in Oakland." My father's expression flickered. "High school? That's noble. What did you study in college?" "I have a PhD in biochemistry from MIT." I watched my father's face. For half a second, I saw respect. Then it disappeared. "And you chose to teach high school?" "Yes, sir." "Why?" Marcus smiled. because those kids need someone who actually understands the science, not just someone reading from a textbook. A lot of them are first-generation Americans. Their parents work 2 jobs. They can't afford SAT prep or college counselors. I can give them that. My father nodded slowly. How much does a high school teacher make? I felt my stomach tighten. Dad, I'm just curious, Sophia. It's a fair question. Marcus answered calmly. About $52,000 a year. My father set down his wine glass. You have a PhD from MIT and you make $52,000. Yes, sir. You could make 3 times that in industry. I know. I turned down offers from Pfizer and Merck after I graduated. My mother spoke up. You turned down Pfizer? They wanted me to work on reformulating existing drugs to extend patents. I wasn't interested in that kind of work. My father laughed. Not a kind laugh, a dismissive one. So you'd rather work with teenagers for poverty wages than contribute to actual pharmaceutical advancement. I'd rather work with people who need me than work for profit margins. The table went quiet. My brother Daniel cleared his throat. That's very idealistic, Marcus. It's practical, Marcus replied. Those kids become engineers, doctors, researchers. One of my former students is at Stanford studying neuroscience right now. Another is at Berkeley doing chemical engineering. I'm investing in the future. My father picked up his fork. You're wasting your education. I should have defended Marcus right then. I should have told my father to stop. Instead, I changed the subject and hoped the dinner would end without more conflict. That was my first mistake. Over the next year, as Marcus and I got more serious, my father's disapproval grew louder. Every family dinner included some comment about Marcus's salary, his car, his apartment, his choices. When are you going to get a real job? Sophia deserves someone who can provide for her. You're never going to be able to afford the lifestyle she's used to. Marcus took it all calmly. Too calmly. I started to wonder if he even cared. Then one night, after a particularly brutal family dinner, I asked him, "Why don't you defend yourself? Why do you let him talk to you like that?" Marcus looked at me from across his small kitchen table. "Because he's your father, and fighting with him won't change his mind. He values money and status. I value education and impact. We're never going to agree. But it bothers me. Does it bother you enough to leave me? No, never. Then it doesn't matter what he thinks. He was right. But it was hard. When Marcus proposed a year later, he did it with a ring he'd saved for 8 months to buy. It was beautiful. A simple solitaire diamond, modest but thoughtful. I loved it. I called my parents to tell them we were engaged. My father's response was cold. "I hope you know what you're getting into." My mother was gentler. "Are you sure, mija? Marriage is hard enough without financial stress." I told them I was sure. I told them I loved Marcus. I told them the wedding would be in 6 months, and I hoped they'd be there. They said they would. They lied. Planning the wedding revealed just how deep my father's disapproval ran. Every decision became a battle. We wanted a small wedding, 80 people, at a botanical garden. My father insisted on a large formal wedding at a country club. If you're going to marry him, at least do it with dignity. We wanted a string quartet. My father wanted a 12-piece orchestra. People will judge you by the wedding. We wanted a simple reception dinner. My father wanted a 5-course plated meal with premium wines. You're a Martinez. Act like it. I try to compromise. Marcus told me to do whatever made me happy. My father wrote a check for $60,000 for the wedding. I didn't want to take it, but my mother begged me to let him contribute. "It's his way of showing love," she said. I accepted. That was my second mistake. 2 weeks before the wedding, my father called me into his office at Martinez Pharmaceuticals. I thought he wanted to discuss last-minute wedding details. Instead, he slid a document across his desk. "What is this?" "A prenuptial agreement." I stared at him. You want me to sign a prenup? I want to protect you. You have a trust fund. You have inheritance rights to this company. Marcus has nothing. If this marriage fails, it's not going to fail. If it fails, I don't want him taking what you've earned. I haven't earned anything, Dad. You have. And I don't want your money. I never have. His face hardened. You'll sign this, or I'm pulling my funding for the wedding. Then pull it. We'll have the wedding we originally wanted. Small. Simple. Just people who actually support us. I walked out. That night, I told Marcus what happened. He was quiet for a long time. Do you want to sign it? No. Then don't. We'll pay for our own wedding. We canceled the country club, we rebooked the botanical garden, we cut the guest list to 100 people. We did it ourselves, and it was better. My father called 3 times. Each time, I didn't answer. 1 week before the wedding, my mother came to my apartment. Your father is hurt. He tried to control my wedding with money. He's trying to protect you. He's trying to control me. There's a difference. She sighed. He won't come to the wedding unless you sign the prenup. Then he won't come. She left. I cried. Marcus held me. And I made peace with the idea that my father would miss my wedding. But he didn't miss it. He came. And he made sure everyone knew he didn't approve. The wedding day was beautiful. The botanical garden was blooming with spring flowers. The weather was perfect. My bridesmaids, my college friends, and Marcus's sister helped me get ready. My mother arrived early, crying but smiling. My brother came with his wife. And at 3:45 p.m., 15 minutes before the ceremony, my father walked into the bridal suite. You look beautiful, mija. I turned, surprised. You came. I'm your father. Of course I came. Relief washed over me. Thank you. I'll walk you down the aisle. But I want you to know something. The relief died. What? I don't support this marriage. I think you're making a mistake. But you're my daughter, and I'll be here. I should have told him to leave. I should have asked my brother to walk me instead. But I wanted my father at my wedding. So I nodded, and I let him walk me down the aisle. The ceremony was perfect. Marcus cried when he saw me. I cried, reading my vows. Our friends cheered. It felt like the beginning of everything good. Then we got to the reception. Dinner was served. Toasts began. My maid of honor spoke about love and partnership. Marcus's best man told embarrassing college stories. Then my father stood up. I didn't know he'd planned to give a speech. Neither did my mother, based on her expression. He held up his glass. I'd like to say a few words about my daughter. The room quieted. I smiled nervously. Sophia has always been headstrong, independent. She makes her own choices, even when those choices are, he paused, questionable. My smile faded. Today she married Marcus Chen, a high school teacher, a man who makes $52,000 a year, a man who will never be able to provide for her the way she deserves. People shifted uncomfortably. Marcus's hand found mine under the table. I raised Sophia in wealth and comfort. She's used to a certain lifestyle, and now she's chosen to marry beneath our family, beneath her potential, beneath what she could have had. My mother whispered, "Richard, stop." He didn't stop. I want everyone here to understand something. This marriage does not have my support. Sophia has made her choice, and she'll live with the consequences. But don't expect me to fund it. Don't expect me to pretend I approve. And don't expect a penny from me moving forward. He raised his glass higher. To the bride and groom, may you learn what love without resources really means. He drank. Then he set down his glass and walked out. 200 people sat in stunned silence. I sat frozen, humiliated, heartbroken. Marcus stood up slowly. He took the microphone. Thank you, Richard, for that honest perspective. His voice was calm, but his hands shook slightly. I want to say something too. I don't come from money. I grew up in a one-bedroom apartment with my mom and sister after my dad died. I worked 3 jobs to pay for college. I got a full scholarship to MIT. I earned my PhD while teaching undergrads to pay rent. Everything I have, I built myself. He looked at me. I'm not marrying Sophia for her father's money. I'm marrying her because she's brilliant, kind, and brave enough to choose her own path. And if that path includes struggling financially, we'll struggle together. If it means living without Richard Martinez's approval, we'll live without it. He set down the microphone. The room erupted in applause. My father never turned around. He left the wedding. And he didn't speak to me for 3 years. The first year of marriage was hard. Not because of Marcus, because of the silence. My father blocked my number. My mother called occasionally, always brief, always sad. My brother avoided me at family events I was no longer invited to. I was erased. Marcus and I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment. I kept my marketing job. He kept teaching. We made $110,000 combined. We were fine financially. We traveled modestly. We saved carefully. We were happy. But I missed my family. I missed my mother's Sunday dinners. I missed my brother's kids, my niece and nephew who barely remembered me. I missed being part of something, even if that something came with my father's controlling expectations. Marcus noticed. "Do you regret it?" he asked one night. "Regret what?" "Marrying me. Losing your family. I didn't lose my family by marrying you. I lost them because my father couldn't accept that I chose differently than he wanted. That's not an answer." I looked at him. "No, I don't regret marrying you, but I regret that it cost me everything else." He nodded. "I'm sorry. Don't be. You didn't do this. He did." In year 2, something shifted. One of Marcus's former students, a kid named Jason who'd gone to Stanford on a full ride, called him. Jason's mother had been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease. The medication she needed was experimental, expensive, and not covered by insurance. "Mr. Chen, I don't know what to do. My mom's going to die without this drug." Marcus spent 3 days researching. Then he called a contact from his MIT days, a researcher at a biotech firm. "I need a favor." He explained the situation. The researcher said, "I can't give you the drug for free, but I can tell you how to make it. The patent's still active, so it's technically illegal, but..." Marcus didn't make the drug. Instead, he found a loophole. A clinical trial the mother qualified for. He helped Jason's family apply. They got in. The medication worked. Jason's mother recovered. Jason called Marcus crying. "You saved her life." Marcus said, "I just pointed you in the right direction." But I heard the call. I saw my husband, the man my father called worthless, save someone's life with his brain and his connections and his knowledge. And I realized something. My father had never saved anyone. He'd built a profitable company, yes, but profit wasn't the same as impact. In year 3, everything changed. My mother called me for the first time in 8 months. "Sophia, I need to tell you something. Your father's in trouble. Martinez Pharmaceuticals has spent 5 years and $80 million developing a new drug for rheumatoid arthritis. It was their flagship product, the one that would secure the company's future and my father's legacy. The FDA review was the final step. 3 months into our 3rd year of marriage, the FDA rejected the drug. The rejection letter cited problems with the molecular formulation. The drug was effective, but it caused liver toxicity in 8% of patients during trials. Unacceptable. My father's company stock dropped 47% in 1 week. Investors pulled funding. Two board members resigned. The company that had been worth $40 million was suddenly worth $22 million and sinking. My mother called me in tears. He's going to lose everything. What do you want me to do? I don't know. But he's your father, and he's drowning. I didn't call him. But I watched the news. I saw the stock reports. I saw interviews where my father, looking 10 years older, tried to reassure investors, and I felt something complicated. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just sadness. Then my father called Marcus. Not me. Marcus. I was at work when it happened. Marcus called me from school during his lunch break. Your father just called me. What? He wants to meet. Why? He didn't say, but he sounded desperate. That night, Marcus told me the details. My father had asked him to come to his office, alone. Marcus asked me what I wanted him to do. Do you want to go? I asked. Not particularly, but I'm curious. Then go. Hear him out. 2 days later, Marcus went to Martinez Pharmaceuticals. He came home 3 hours later, looking stunned. What happened? Your father offered me $50,000. For what? To consult on the drug formulation. Apparently, his entire team of chemists can't figure out how to fix the liver toxicity issue. The company's going under unless they can reformulate and resubmit to the FDA within 6 months. I stared at him. And he wants me to fix it. Can you? Marcus was quiet. Probably. It's the exact kind of problem I specialized in during my PhD. Molecular modification to reduce toxicity while maintaining efficacy. I've published 4 papers on it. My father knows this? He didn't until his assistant Googled me after the FDA rejection. Turns out I'm one of about 50 people in the country with the right expertise. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. He called you because he needs you. Yes. Not because he wants to apologize. Correct. What did you say? Marcus looked at me. I said I'd think about it. And I talked to you. We sat on our couch in our small apartment, the apartment my father thought was beneath me, and I tried to process what this meant. My father, who had disowned me for marrying a poor man, was now begging that same man to save everything he'd built. Do you want to help him? I asked. That's not the right question, Marcus said. The right question is, do you want me to help him? I thought about my father's speech at my wedding. I thought about 3 years of silence. I thought about my mother's sadness and my brother's avoidance and the family I'd lost. No, I said. I don't. Okay. Marcus picked up his phone and texted my father. I'm declining your offer. Best of luck. My father called 30 seconds later. Marcus didn't answer. He called again and again. 6 calls in 10 minutes. Then my mother called me. Sophia, please, you have to convince Marcus to help. Why would I do that? Because your father is going to lose everything. The company, the house, his reputation, everything. He made his choices, Mom. He disowned me. He called my husband worthless. He was wrong. He knows he was wrong. Then he can apologize. He will. Just ask Marcus to help first. No. If Dad wants Marcus's help, he needs to apologize first. Publicly. To both of us. In front of witnesses. That's cruel, Sophia. That's what he did to us. At our wedding. In front of 200 people. If he wants Marcus to save him, he can humble himself the same way he humiliated us. I hung up. The calls didn't stop. My father called Marcus 12 times the next day. Then he showed up at our apartment at 9 p.m. on a Thursday night. I answered the door. My father looked terrible. Thinner, grayer, exhausted. Sophia, Dad, I need to talk to Marcus. He doesn't want to talk to you. Please. Marcus appeared behind me. It's okay. I'll talk to him. We let him in. He sat on our thrift store couch in our small living room, and for the first time in my life, I saw my father cry. I'm losing everything, he said. I worked for 30 years to build that company, and it's dying because I can't fix one molecular problem. The entire chemistry team is stumped. I've hired 3 consultants. No one can figure it out. He looked at Marcus. But you can, can't you? Marcus nodded slowly. Probably. Then please. I'll pay you $50,000. I'll pay you more. I'll give you whatever you want. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? Marcus looked at me. Then, back at my father. I want you to apologize to Sophia, publicly, the same way you humiliated her at our wedding. My father went pale. You want me to apologize in front of people? You stood up at our wedding reception and told 200 guests that I was worthless and that your daughter was marrying beneath her family. Yes, I want you to stand up in front of people and admit you were wrong. That's humiliating. Yes, it is. My father looked at me. Sophia, please. I didn't ask for this, Dad. Marcus did. If you want his help, you do what he's asking. My father sat there for a long time. Then he stood up. Fine, I'll do it. I'll host a family dinner. I'll apologize. Then you'll help me? After you apologize, we'll talk, Marcus said. My father left. And I sat next to my husband, the poor high school teacher, and realized he just made my father beg. The dinner was scheduled for the following Saturday. My father invited the same family members who'd been at our wedding. Not all 200, but the close family. 50 people. My mother, my brother and his wife, my aunts and uncles and cousins, everyone who had heard him disown me. Marcus and I arrived at my parents' house at 6 p.m. It was the first time I'd been back in 3 years. My mother hugged me and cried. My brother nodded awkwardly. My cousins stared. We sat down at the long dining table where I'd eaten Sunday dinners my entire childhood. My father stood at the head of the table. He looked sick. Thank you all for coming. I asked you here because I need to say something. 3 years ago, at Sophia and Marcus's wedding, I made a speech. The room went quiet. I told everyone that Sophia was marrying beneath our family. I said Marcus would never provide for her. I said they shouldn't expect my support or my money. I was cruel. And I was wrong. He looked at me. Sophia, I'm sorry. I let my pride and my obsession with status blind me to what actually matters. You found someone who loves you, respects you, and values the same things you do. And I tried to destroy that because it didn't fit my vision for your life. He turned to Marcus. Marcus, I called you worthless. I belittled your career. I treated you like you were beneath my daughter. But the truth is, you're a better man than I am. You've dedicated your life to helping people who can't pay you back. You've turned down money and prestige to do work that matters. And I was too blind to see it. His voice cracked. I'm asking for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I'm asking. The room was silent. I felt tears on my face. My mother was crying. Even my brother looked uncomfortable. Marcus stood up. Thank you for that. Does this mean you'll help me? I'll help you. Not because you apologized. Because Sophia asked me to. He looked at me. I hadn't asked him. But I realized in that moment that I wanted him to. Not for my father. For my mother. For the family I'd missed. For the chance to rebuild something. I'll work on your formulation, Marcus said. But I'm not doing it for $50,000. I'm doing it for free. And when the drug gets approved, you're going to do something for me. Anything. You're going to create a scholarship fund for underprivileged students interested in STEM. $100,000 a year. Named after Sophia. My father nodded. Done. And one more thing. What? You're going to invite Sophia back into this family. Fully. No conditions. No disapproval. You're going to treat her like your daughter again. Yes. Of course. Anything. Marcus sat back down. My father looked at me. Sophia, I know I can't undo what I did, but I want you back in my life. Please. I looked at Marcus. He squeezed my hand. Okay, I said, but on my terms. We have boundaries now. You don't get to control me. You don't get to criticize my choices. You respect my marriage, or you don't get me at all. I understand. And you thank Marcus every single day for saving your company and giving you another chance with me. I will. Marcus spent the next 4 months working with my father's team. He identified the molecular structure causing liver toxicity. He modified 3 compounds. He ran simulations. He consulted with former MIT colleagues. And he fixed it. The reformulated drug went back to the FDA. It was approved 6 months later. Martinez Pharmaceutical stock recovered. The company was saved. My father kept his promise. He created the Sofia Martinez Scholarship Fund for underprivileged STEM students. The first year, it sent 8 kids to college. Marcus went back to teaching. He refused any payment from my father. He refused recognition. He just went back to his classroom and his students and his $52,000 salary. And my father finally understood what I'd known all along. Wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in impact, in integrity, in choosing to do hard things because they're right, not because they're profitable. It's been 3 years since that dinner. I'm 32 now. Marcus is 35. We still live in our small apartment, though we could afford bigger. We like it. My father and I have rebuilt our relationship slowly. He calls me every week. He asks about Marcus's students. He donates to Marcus's school science program. He's a different man. Humbler, kinder. My mother cries happy tears at Sunday dinners now, the ones we attend regularly. My brother apologized last year for staying silent during the 3-year estrangement. My niece and nephew know their Aunt Sophia now. The company is thriving. The drug Marcus helped save is generating $15 million a year in revenue. My father offered Marcus a job 3 times. Each time, Marcus said no. I'm exactly where I need to be, he tells my father. Last month, one of Marcus's former students, a girl from a single-parent household who barely spoke English when she started his class, got accepted to MIT with a full scholarship. She's studying biochemistry. She wants to develop affordable medications for low-income communities. Marcus cried when she told him. And my father, the man who once called my husband worthless, was there. He saw it. He finally understood. My father disowned me at my wedding for marrying a man he called poor. 3 years later, his company was failing. And that same poor man was the only person who could save it. And my husband, the high school teacher with a PhD from MIT who chose students over salary, helped him not for money, but because I asked him to. He saved my father's company. He saved my family. And he proved that the most valuable people are often the ones who measure their worth in ways money can't buy. So tell me honestly, if someone humiliated you publicly and then needed your help years later, would you help them, refuse them, or make them earn it? I'll be reading your answers. Our team puts a lot of care into creating fictional stories that feel intense, emotional, and full of useful life lessons. This story is not based on real events, and it's made only for entertainment, education, and reflection. We hope viewers can take away a message about value, humility, and the true meaning of success. Thank you for watching.